Welcome to California Live Podcast. And today I'm delighted to introduce to you guys not just a good friend of mine, but an award-winning immigration lawyer, an amazing lawyer in many fields, which we'll be talking about today, Mr. Yanky Perelmuter. Mr. Yanky,
thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to the show. I know that you have a very tight schedule, and today is just one of the multiple episodes that we will be recording with you. And if I may, today I wanted to begin our conversation with a very important for everyone question. In your perspective, in your professional experience and opinion, how does the crisis in Eastern Europe, in the Middle East, the border crisis impact, how does it impact the immigration in general? And maybe you could share some details.
So in general, immigration is such a broad subject. In general, they're impacting the movement of peoples from Europe, the Middle East, and Central America is what's going on at the border. As a whole, we're seeing special programs introduced for those regions, for Ukrainians, for Middle Eastern, for Palestinians now have a parole option. There are different programs available to different nationals of these places. The border is very different than the Middle East and Eastern European situation, because that is both a security and humanitarian crisis. And so It's a difficult thing to navigate, and it's very unique to the border region. But it's impacting policy in the sense that we have to decide, how do we treat these people? How do we allow them to stay? Do we allow them to come in? And so on and so forth.
Well, from what we see in the media, it's not like we do allow or not allow. Nobody's asking, they're just moving. And how do you believe this unique situation? I mean, I don't know if it's unique in that sense. How would it impact the country in its life development?
So the border situation is what we hear about in the news is a political issue.
Right.
The political parties use immigration as a talking point because it's something that is very difficult to get a real grasp on. Right. What's going on at the border? Well, we need to have better security. There's not really a crisis as they would call it. Mm-hmm. They show videos of a couple people jumping through a fence or a couple. There's really no way that's ever going to be stopped. You could build walls, bridges, tunnels, whatever you want to build. People are desperate. They're going to climb over, go under, around. They're going to find ways. It's about mitigating. It's about mitigation. And I think the administration is doing a great job, but they're not the first. Border Patrol has been around for 20 years as a part of Homeland Security. They've been doing a great job for 20 years at making sure that our borders are safe. So I wouldn't say that there's a crisis at the border. It's something that we just have to live with all the time. And the people that are coming in have to be vetted and checked when they do asylum, but it doesn't have a very big impact on the US at all, really.
Right.
In general, I mean, I live in Kansas, right in the middle of the United States. There are undocumented immigrants where I live. They're everywhere. Are they running amok and causing chaos? They're probably better members of society than a lot of Americans.
That's a very interesting comment, because what we see from New York or from California, that's a little bit different.
So it's anecdotal, right? So there's 20 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S., 20 million plus.
Right.
So when they show you one newsreel about a guy in New York or 1,000 people causing a little bit of chaos, I mean, they're non-exist. They statistically don't exist. So it's anecdotal. Really, the other 19,999,000 are actively trying to just live their life.
Right.
Not that it's okay. It's not okay to be here undocumented. But to vilify it and claim that it's that it's causing a massive problem in the U.S. is just false. It's not.
Makes sense. How do you feel? If we combine, we had so many immigrants from Eastern Europe. We have a lot of immigrants coming from the southern border. It's a pretty big influx of new people, new future citizens, I would hope. How do you foresee this impact on the economy, on the country's development?
So, I mean, historically, we've gone through mass migrations for 150 years in the U.S. We had the late 1800s was a mass migration from Western Europe. Early 1900s, mass migration from Eastern Europe or Southern Europe. The Italians came. Yeah. I mean, this is not even close to those numbers as far as like integrating these people into our society. But they have to be willing to integrate. They want to join our melting pot. They have to join. Mm-hmm. We have a long history of, English is the language of the land.
Right.
We're not going to change that. Learn to speak the language, like to become a citizen, that's still a requirement.
Right.
So it's an issue that we've been dealing with in the U.S. since the early 1800s with like the first immigration laws. Before that, there was no immigration rules.
Right.
But the first like Chinese Exclusion Acts and like historically, and it's unfortunate that immigration becomes political because it's so easy to show a video of a guy jumping over the fence or show a mugshot of a guy who killed somebody. It's so easy to vilify an entire group by very limited anecdotal information when we're always going to have immigrants. We've always welcomed immigrants. It's just, and Homeland Security does an excellent job vetting them. I meet with Homeland Security all the time. You would be shocked at what they know everything. They know everything. They know about everybody that's coming to the U.S. It's not, people aren't getting in and like very much being able to sneak in without somebody noticing.
Okay.
But unfortunately, it's a manpower question, right? We just don't have we're not going to send the army to the border to start shooting at people walking around. Like we can't. The army has other jobs to do.
Right.
Border patrol, like it's just a manpower. It's a resources issue.
Right.
And is it worth the resources is the question.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not. I think that's why we're where we're at. There's a balance. We're going to stop people from coming that shouldn't be coming, but we don't have the resources to stop everybody. And we never will.
Right. Well, in any case, you have a very optimistic perspective, and definitely the media lacks this, information.
Yeah, I mean,
one of the things that I've spoke with VP of Sony Pictures last week, and he mentioned that right now we have so many media pieces of information, and the problem is that people don't really search for the truth. It's just being absorbed, and what you're saying right now is just anecdotal. It just makes sense.
Right. And I mean, the truth is so hard to find. I live and breathe immigration. Like I'm in the immigration world. I'm in the corporate world. I'm in the business world. So like I see what's really happening. I talk to my clients. I talk to like people at the border. I talk to Homeland Security.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to get that perspective. You only have the media.
Right.
And you could listen to me, but
Well, thank God we have you and we have our platform, so we can deliver good and truthful information to the people. And we always encourage everybody to research, not to just believe. Because right now everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody creates content, and it doesn't really matter if it's true or does whatever. transitioning to the next question, you mentioned that you are also working with corporate clients, and also I assume you do help your clients, individual clients, with business development and with establishing their life in the U.S. Once you mentioned that you advise your clients who, let's say, buy properties to put them under LLCs, then the trusts. Why is that, and how does it work?
Okay, so there's it's asset protection, right? It's not really going to protect you for tax liabilities, but you want to protect your assets. And almost everyone's biggest asset is either their home, and business people in real estate is their biggest asset, usually, unless you have a very robust intellectual property or some other type of asset. But
right.
And so as an individual or a corporation, as an individual, when you own a piece of property, it's subject to your, it could be used to overcome a liability. So for example, you own your house, you get into a car accident, and unfortunately someone passes. Okay. So you have a wrongful death claim against you. Your car insurance is up to $500,000, and it'll max out through and the liability against you is $1 million. They get the $500,000, and then they could take your house. So to avoid that, you want your property or your business property, you want your property to be separated from you through a separate entity. So that could be a trust or an LLC, and there's different types of protection. Some, like a revocable trust, won't protect you at the same level of irrevocable trust will. And so we use these entities, these corporate and trust entities, to limit your exposure for any liability. It could be a business liability. It could be any liability that comes at you, and you don't know when, you don't know if when. I mean, it could happen at any time. So we help our clients with protecting their assets, because you want to make sure that they're in different. It creates a level of separation where one liability doesn't get the assets of different entities.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Does it also work? A lot of citizens are complaining about the divorce situation, and then one party takes either everything or half. Does it also help with protecting assets in these cases, or it's different?
So not so much. So generally, divorce is different because of the state, the different divorce rules in different states.
Right.
So it's hard to say if it does or it doesn't. Generally, it doesn't, because in divorce, any money that's any asset that's gotten during the marriage is going to be subject to the court and how they decide to separate it.
Right.
Sorry.
Totally fine. The day is getting busy. I understand.
So to answer your question, I wouldn't. These kind of things don't help in divorce.
Okay, makes sense. Well, I think we'll develop something that will help people to protect themselves a little better. I know that, again, your time is limited. You're busy. 3 tips for successful immigration case preparation from you to the viewers, to the potential clients.
First, documentation. Clear copies, clear documentation, where you came from. Keep every immigration document you get, keep. And then every document you need, get a clear copy. 2, and it's going to depend on what your process is. There's business and family. For all of immigration, plan early. It always takes a long time. It takes longer than expected to prepare things. It takes the government an unbelievable amount of time to get through files. And 3, hire the best immigration lawyer there is.
Well, we know the best immigration lawyer. The rest is on you guys. Mr. Yanky, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming to this episode and sharing with us your wisdom, your experience, and all of the positive messages about the immigration situation in the country. We appreciate that, and we're looking forward to seeing you on our next episodes.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to seeing you again soon.